I asked a question to the universe, which then my cells answered. I asked a question when I just realized that I exist as a field energy, a spirit, whatever you want to call it, as information in the field. And I also exist as a body. My first question that came up in my head was, then why have both? Why have a spirit and a body? Why not just be the spirit? I asked, why have both? And all of a sudden it welled up and the answer came and said, Bruce, if you're just a spirit, what does chocolate taste like? And all of a sudden I said, oh my God, it's the biology, which is all the receptor devices that translate my environment into sensation, which are then translated by the nervous system into fields and vibrational patterns, which are then sent back to my source. And I realized at that moment, I said, my God, we're here to experience this place, to touch it and smell it, watch sunsets and feel love and eat wonderful food. And then all of a sudden I said, yeah, but it's not just receiving information. When you have a body, you can be creative. We can come to this planet and manifest creativity. And we do this, we step into a virtual reality suit called the body. I step into the suit as a spirit. It communicates with me via just the same way the Mars rover is communicating with NASA, and I get to experience this planet.
Need motivation?
Watch the top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Bruce Lipton, and my take on his top 50 rules of success. Enjoy.
The belief that genes turn on and off is taking power away from the individual, because if the genes were turning on and off and I did not control them, then by definition, I'm a victim of which genes did I get from my family? Did cancer genes come in, heart disease genes, or diabetes? And now we recognize that in regard to disease, genes are responsible for less than 10% of disease. In fact, there are indications that genes are only responsible for 1% of disease. So all of a sudden it says, well, wait, we used to think genes cause disease, but if only a small percent of disease is controlled by genes, and where is the disease coming from that is affecting the world? And the answer is, now we know from epigenetics, consciousness, lifestyle, belief systems. These are the ultimate controls of the gene. We know that if you got a cancer gene and that's what you believe, then you think I'm going to get the cancer. And then you get a cancer and you say the genes did it. And now we know, no, that there is no cancer gene. There is not one gene that causes cancer. Genes are correlated with cancer, meaning if your life is not in harmony and you have one of these genes, you can activate a cancer. 50% of the women that have the same BRCA1 gene never get the cancer. The point is very important. Having the gene doesn't mean you get cancer, but having the gene and not living in harmony, not living in a healthy lifestyle, that causes the cancer. And so we have to help people, take them from the belief I'm a victim and give them the science that no, your consciousness is creating this life experience in here. Your consciousness is controlling your genes. Cells in your body are not connected to the outer environment, but they have to adjust themselves to that outer environment. And the relevance about that, well, then how they know what to do, because something has to tell them what the heck is going on. And so it turns out the nervous system interfaces the environment and then sends signals to the cells to tell them what's going on. So the cells are responding to the perceptions and actions of the central nervous system. And I say, why is that relevant? Because I say it's an interpretation. And so the cells, the simple point, you got 50 trillion citizens, and the mind is a government.
Yes.
And the government talks to these cells. Now you can have a bad leader who tells them this is all crap, it's all falling apart, things don't work. And it's like, they're not going to be happy cells. And it can profoundly different. You talk to your cells and tell them, okay, everything's cool, we're great. When there's a big, incident in the U.S., an accident or, big problem in some community, the president goes to the community.
Yes.
Why does the president go? Because it takes the attention of all the other citizens of the states, focuses on the intention where that president is. So if there's an area where there's a disaster, the energy of all the people are addressed to that area because the president shows up there, and that's the leader. So I'm saying the same thing for your cells. You're sort of that president in there. And the point is, when you touch some part on your body, your conscious attention focuses on that part of the body. And intention is energy. And it's a healing energy when you're sending a good message to that part of the body. So you touch it, talk to it, and it sounds like, oh, crazy. I go, no. You are directly sending information via consciousness to all the cells to focus healing on this part. If you change the picture in your mind, you change the chemistry, you change the fate. So I'll give an example. If I have a picture of love in my mind, the brain releases complementary chemistry, dopamine, pleasure, oxytocin, bond with your loved one, growth hormone, which does exactly what it says. It enhances your growth. And that's why when people fall in love, the chemistry of the brain going into the blood, the culture medium, enhances vitality. People glow when they fall in love. People are healthy when they fall in love. It's not an accident. It's the chemistry of your culture medium.
Mm-hmm.
But now I say, but wait, what if I have a picture of fear? I go, oh, well, love chemistry doesn't come out when fear is in the picture. The brain releases stress hormones and factors that affect the immune system and growth of the system. And I go, oh, my goodness. I say, why is it relevant? Changing my thought changes my chemistry. The chemistry adjusts my biology. So if I can control my thoughts, I can control the chemistry, and therefore I control the biology. That takes me to empowerment, mastery. After being programmed by medicine and biology all these years that you're just a victim of your genes, that's 100% false. Genes cannot turn on and off by themselves. They're controlled by the signals of the environment, which are then controlled by the brain and the consciousness. Yep. And all of a sudden it says, yeah, but I control those things. I go, yes, you do. And as a result, you have power to heal yourself and create what you want on this planet.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
In today's world, I love the phrase because it is funny, but it's true. Fake it till you make it.
Yes.
Meaning, you want to be happy? Well, you have to habituate happy. You have to say every day, no matter if you're not happy, I don't really care. You have to tell yourself, I am happy. I am happy. You have to repeat it. Habituation, repetition. Why? I'm consciously repeating it every day and looking at my life. My life really sucks. Oh, Bruce, I am happy. I am happy. I'm saying that. I go, well, why are you saying it? Because repetition is how the subconscious mind learns. I say, why is this relevant? And here's the fun part. Because after I've repeated it a number of times, the subconscious says, okay, I am happy. I've learned this. I go, why is it relevant? That 95% of the day, the subconscious function is to make that program real. If my program is I am happy, the function of the mind is to make sure I'm happy. If the program says I'm going to get cancer because I heard that from somebody else, then the function of the mind is to make sure I get cancer because that's the belief I'm working with. And if it says I am a victim and I can't get out of this, then the function of the mind is, yep, look, you see, I'm showing you're a victim and you can't get out of it because I'm running the show. You're a victim. How did you learn anything after age 7? And the answer was repetition. That's what it was. It was just practicing. The more you repeat something, the more it becomes just so easy. You don't know how to play an instrument. You practice like crazy. At some point, you practice so much, you pick up the instrument. No consciousness of the details of how you're playing it. It's so automatic at this point. It's like driving the car. When you first got in the car, it's like, oh my God, you got to watch the window, the mirrors, the gauges, the engine sound. It's like so much. Today, you've been driving a car a long time. Guess what? You don't even think about it. Put the key in, you're thinking about where you're going. And all of a sudden I saw, the more you practice, the less effort it takes to carry out whatever it was you were practicing. Now the question is, what are you practicing? Something positive or something negative? Because they're both become programs, whichever one you're practicing. If I have a picture of fear in my mind, I'm afraid of something, my brain translates fear with different chemicals, stress hormones, cortisol, norepinephrine, factors that affect the immune system that are called cytokines or histamine. So basically, in a state of conscious fear, the brain releases chemistry that complements fear. That chemistry goes into the body's blood, and that changes the behavior and the genetics of the person. So that means there's a difference between having positive thoughts and having negative thoughts. And people say, oh, that positive thinking doesn't really work, but that's not true. The best example of positive thinking in a scientific study is called placebo. You have a disease and the doctor says, here's this new pill and it's the brand new science and it's going to cure you, and you believe it. And you take the pill and you get well. Then you find out the pill was a sugar pill. So then you're left with, so what made me well? It's not the sugar pill. It was the positive belief in that sugar pill and how it's going to help your life. So that's called placebo, positive thinking, positive result. Unfortunately, most people don't recognize a more important point. Negative thinking is equally powerful, but it works in the opposite direction. So it turns out, for example, less than 10% of cancer is even connected to a family lineage. 90% of cancer just comes out of the blue, so to speak. But the reality is no, it's a result of stress and negative thinking. So it's an important point. Positive thinking, negative thinking, equally powerful because that's the level of consciousness that is translated into the chemistry that controls your genetics. I just want to add a very important point to this. Quantum physics is the most valid science on this planet. There is no science that has been tested more and verified more. And I go, so what's the relevance? Because the primary principle in quantum physics is consciousness is creating our life experiences. And now when you add epigenetics to that physics, now we understand the mechanism of how consciousness is controlling our biology. So biology and physics are coming together to reveal that we are very powerful creators of our lives. I am so grateful to offer this because as each one of us takes back our power and each one of us actually starts to live heaven on earth like you did when you fell in love, even if it was only for a week, if you could do that every day of your life and everyone around you was doing that every day of your life, then the simple truth is this, then earth does become heaven. If we're all living as if it's heaven and the function is to create, the mind is to take that vision and manifest it. If I believe I'm living in heaven, then my world experience will be, what would it be like if I lived in heaven? And being in love is the one time you unconsciously, unknowingly took back power, the equivalent of the red pill. You unknowingly became powerful. And I say, yeah, in 24 hours, you changed your whole demeanor of life after you met this person.
Yeah.
I go, you could have done it in different ways. Didn't have to be with a person. You didn't need to fall in love with a person. You could have fall in love with gardening.
Yeah.
If you're a gardener, you go out in the garden and you're digging the garden. You're having so much fun and the plants are growing and everything. I go, you just manifested heaven on earth for you. Isn't that beautiful, living in the garden? I go, well, it doesn't have to be another person. Love doesn't. Love is just focusing on something you desire. A pet, a garden, artwork, cleaning up the garage. Really? You say that could be? I say, yeah, because when I'm doing it, I'm creating order and happiness and all that. And I go, well, fine. Then you're cleaning up the garage. I got to clean up the damn garage. So if you're cleaning it up because, wow, that's so much better now. I feel so much better in here. It's so clean. I know where everything is. I go, being in love doesn't have, it could be anything that keeps your conscious mind in front. Because it's when your conscious mind goes in the back is when you become the product of your subconscious program. So, and this is great. The hardest part about programming that people don't recognize is you have to make all programs present tense positive statements, not future statements. I will have, I shall have, or something like that. It's like, no, I am. It is. And the reason is it's so logically simple, and that is this. Let's say I'm not well. I say, I want to be well. And I say, fine, let's record that. Now let's come back a whole year later and push the button that says, I want to be well. I say, oh, it's been a whole year. You never got there. You just wanted to be well for a whole year. That's what the program said. So if you are sick and you write, I am healthy, and the mind looks at the program and says, oh, I got to change this. It doesn't change the program. It brings health back so that the body matches the program. And so that's the whole issue about it. The function of the mind is to take the program and manifest it. And if you got a negative program, then obviously whatever it manifests is going to be negative. Here we go.
That's
Eagle!
yes, master. And then you can look at it. I reckon I'm good on that. Great, I love it. Thank you.
Up and away! Oh, hold on a second. Hold on. Laura!
Welcome to Funkmeister Studios, where all the magic happens.
We have a belief that only physical matter is primary, and we've ignored the relevance of what's called energy. And the new physics, quantum physics, says you can't ignore the energy. The energy is what is actually shaping the physical world. So by leaving the energy out of the equation, we've missed the most important factor, spirituality. Mind is energy. Everything we eat, food is energy. Where we live is energy. So we have to talk about the environment of the invisible nature is what's actually shaping our physical experience on this planet. It's a retake, and it says, look, stop focusing on this physical plane. Start recognizing your thoughts and your beliefs and spirituality and energy around us are really reflected in who we are.
Right now, today, the world's in a big mess. And the significance of that is who's responsible. And it turns out it's a very small percent of the population that we would call the leaders of our civilization. For me, what would be really important is this. If all individuals would fully express their power, guess what? There's a commonality to all people on this planet. What do they want? Health, happiness, a job, security, food. Well, if we're all sharing those wishes, guess what? We would all live in harmony, seeking the same very ends. And so for me, it is really important that people empower themselves, because our leadership is not really supporting us as much as the massive population, because collectively, we would have a much better outlook on this planet than the one we're experiencing right now. Please listen to this. A negative thought is equally powerful in controlling the biology. So as much as a positive thought can heal you, a negative thought can kill you. It can make any disease. You can have a negative thought about cancer and manifest cancer. You have no genes that are even cancer-related genes. And it's like, where the hell did it come from? You are creating your biology as a complement to what you see. So if you see a positive world, then you're getting positive vibes coming in, and it feels really great. And if you live in a negative world, or one you believe to be negative, then the cells are inside cowering, going, oh my God, it's not safe out there. And so my cells are just adjusting to my perception. So changing your perception is like, well, where's that? And I go, that's your mind. Just to begin with, a very interesting concept that Judeo-Christianity has provided the large population of the world with a belief that Genesis occurred and God created the planet and the water and then the animals and the plants. And after all this creation, then God said, let's add some humans to the mix. So we didn't come from that creation, we were added to the earth. Science comes in and also separates us from the planet, because conventional science, based on what is called Newtonian physics, we are physical particles separate from each other. No, we're all separate pieces. And we lost the understanding that the word Gaia is a living organism. The earth is a cell. We are connected to everything. We've lost that vision. We feel that we are a piece in a bunch of pieces. And as I said, are we going to be safe, or are we going to be afraid in this? And I said, then we want to protect ourselves. And if you understand the breathing of most people, it's very shallow. It's right up here. Why? I don't want to take too much of the outside in. I'm protecting myself, but as Sadhvi just said, we still need oxygen. So we breathe in a little bit of oxygen, but we want to be separate. And the simple reality is, those beliefs are totally false. We were created with everything. We are created from everything. There is no separation between us and the world in which we live. And so when we are breathing very shallow, we are actually, remember I said, protection, close yourself down. Shallow breathing, closing yourself down. When you start to learn to take in the breath of life, you are opening yourself to the entire world around us. And that opening of the world makes us part of this world, not a separate piece from one another. So breathing becomes a very important part of, am I hiding from the world by just breathing a little tiny bit? Or can I take in this breath and become part of this oneness that we are? Your separation is where all the problems of life come from. Your breathing can open you up to this entire world, to take it in. You are this world. You are every bit of this. You're a reflection of everything out there. You came from that. So basically, can we stop the protection that we think is helping us, but it's the protection that is killing us? And breathing, can I take this in? Can I take the world in? Yes. And I can thrive. And so when we start to let go of that protection, the breathing will start to go from shallow chest to abdominal, because I'm taking in the world with every breath. I'm taking in the energy of the world with every breath. And that is what makes us whole. You have shallow breathing, you have fear, all of a sudden you cannot be whole anymore. And so we come here to learn to take power back. And oh my God, closing word, yoga.
Another major assumption is that we're equivalent to genetic automatons. We have genes, they control us, we don't control the genes, and therefore we're sort of like victims of our heredity. You got cancer running in your family, you say, oh my goodness, I'm gonna get the cancer, I got the genes, or Alzheimer's, or diabetes, whatever. This is completely false, because it turns out genes control nothing. It's really the environment that is controlling the genes, and more importantly, our perception of the environment. How we see the world, what we think about the world is adjusting our genetics. So we find out disease, 1% of disease is connected to genetics. 90% or more of disease is connected to how we live in the world, because how we live in the world is altering or affecting our genetic activity.
So what we know and what we believe is changing our reality constantly.
Right, because the new science is called epigenetics. And what it means is this: our beliefs and how we see the world, we change our genetics. So rather than being victims, which we have believed all the way up to now, we are the masters. We change our genetics just by how we respond to the world. So we can change our responses, which means then we can change our genetics. So we're not victims.
A very important part of our understanding about life is that it's our perception of life, which actually means our beliefs about life. So the significance is, if you're going to plan your life and you're going to make perceptions the programmer of your life, well, then the best thing you can do is perceive of the life that you would wish and desire, because those thoughts will be translated by biology into the expression of your cells and your genetics, and you will manifest your wishes and your desires. And that's what the new biology is all about.
All you need is love. And we really have to recognize that love is a vibration. It's not a physical thing, it's a feeling that people get. And it's a harmony. And this is what love is versus fear. Love is harmony, music. It all comes together beautifully. Fear is noise, disharmony, and a breaking of the vibrational harmony. And so really, it's like bring it back together again and bring everything back into harmony. The planet, the environment, ourselves, our community of humanity. And when it is in harmony, it is love. And so that's the message that was really brought from this center through the Beatles and given to the world. All you need is love.
For me, one of the most personally exciting things that happened to my life was to recognize that I was not a victim of my genes or a victim of my society, that I actually am a creator of my life. And once understanding that nature and expressing that creativity, I profoundly changed my life from being a victim to being a master of my creation. And today, I have such a wonderful life that it actually has no comparison to the first 40 years of my life where I lived under the programming that I received as a child. Today, I've created such a joyous, wonderful life that I look forward every day to waking up to have another day on this beautiful planet. The most profound teachers I ever sat before, to have the opportunity to learn the lessons that were so magnificent that I can't fully put them into words. And who were those teachers? They were the cells that I was working on in a petri dish. They showed me, from my point of view and my reference to life, that there was something called spirituality that I didn't know existed. And the moment I saw the mechanics of how a signal from the universe comes in to my body suit, my virtual reality suit, and was running this, there was this instant of recognition. I said, oh my God, I can't die. I'm not even in here. That concept of immortality was one of the first and most important lessons I had. Why? Because all of us, when we grew up as children, there was a point of learning that people die, and that you are people, and that you will do so yourself, and your parents will die, and your friends and loved ones will also die. And we got so caught up in that. The moment of reality that I couldn't die was the most uplifting experience I could ever imagine, because the fear that we are programmed with, that you may not say every day, oh, I'm afraid of dying. You don't have to say it. It's built into your subconscious. It's running your life. Every movement you make, every action you take, there's something in your mind that says, how's this going to affect my life? Am I going to threaten my life by doing this? Or is another person going to threaten my life? And we get into that. So for me, the truest knowledge I got was not a devotion to spirit. It was an owning of spirit. It was owning it without saying, I think it's this way. I owned it. And the moment I owned it, a weight that I ever knew I was even carrying around disappeared, because I became free for the first time to recognize I'm here for something other than my life. The cells taught me this as well, and the cells also taught me what I mentioned briefly the other day, the next important fact when you put the two together. And that is that we have been programmed in this world not to love ourselves. We've been programmed to be criticized. We have parents who criticize us. We have teachers who criticize us. We have people all around that criticize us. So what does that mean? Every action you take, there's something back there, the program of criticism that says, are you doing it right? Are you doing it right? And then you live by this criticism. When you learn that you're part of spirit as real, then you realize you're a part of everything that is. You're a part of, if you want to say God, how can you be critical of God? And all of a sudden I started to realize I cannot lead my life in that critical nature. I'm going to own who I am. I'm a spirit that has come to this planet to experience and to create and to manifest heaven on earth. And I have now two lives. I have previous learning life, struggle, anger, control, trying to fix everything. And I have post experience, a calmness, an understanding that it's all driven by love. Even if other people can't see through their filter of criticism, you're still driven by love. Every one of you is a piece of all that is. Every one of you. And if that critical mind comes up and says not good enough in any sense, there's a point where you have to stand back and say, that's not me. I am more than the program. And when you let go of that problem of self-criticism, you learn and experience for the first time in your life self-love. And why is this important? Because as I learned through years, I could not love the people around me until I could learn to love myself. It was always simple. It was a joke in my head. Somebody would say they love me, and I go, what kind of quality control do these people have? I can't love me. How can they love me? And I would reject and push away the love because I couldn't own it to accept it. And if I could leave one message behind about love, is that you are love. You are a piece of God that came here to create the most beautiful thing in the universe, planet Earth. As we go outside and see nature and the glory of this planet, that's why we can understand how beings from other places are, if anything, jealous not to come here to share in this beauty. So if I could just leave you with this understanding, you came here to create heaven. Other people took away your power by programming you to criticize yourself. Own who you are, because then your creative abilities will come forth. And guess what I found out? I didn't have to go out and make it happen. I didn't have to go out and beat the world to find success to bring it in. I just walked out in love, and it all came to me. Just like every one of you here is a part of that one love. And when I come to Uplift, which is the whole message to tell people we are one love, I get so elevated. I was behind the curtains back there when We Are Made Out of Love was reverberating through this building. And you could feel it. You could feel it. Even if I couldn't see you, I was behind the curtain. I could feel the power of that love because you were all so beautiful without your filter. And so recognizing that was a choice. There's a choice to say, do I want to be the filter or do I want to be me? And when you start to recognize me as not just this isolated thing, but me as every one of you joining together as one collective, all that is, the glory of life on this planet cannot be built by anything else in the universe than what you can do here. You are creators. Own your creativity. Own your spirit. It's not words. It's not devotion. It's a true knowledge. You are spiritual. And that is the opening of life. Oh, there's a nocebo alert on my Apple hologram machine. Oh, I must go help Alex. Dr. Nocebo is giving him a lot of negative thinking. And what Alex doesn't recognize is that negative thinking is equally powerful in changing our lives as positive thinking. Well, the positive thinking can heal us of any disease, the placebo effect. Negative thinking can cause any disease. And Alex is now going to have a whole lot of negative thinking from Dr. Nocebo. We must go help Alex get his positive thinking back online. I must get down to Alex right now and help him heal himself. In the past, if you looked at it, people have perceived themselves as victims of everything around them, victims of circumstances. And then we go, oh, I'm sorry, life did not give me those wonderful things that other people have. And the simple reality is, no, if you have an issue, it's not the outside. This is what we've always, universe, give me something. We now know that our issues are internal. It's our own subconscious beliefs that we've been programmed with of disempowerment. Like when a child is growing up and getting its programs, just think of what things parents say. Oh, you don't deserve this. Who do you think you are? I mean, the parents didn't mean that for your whole life. They were trying to, goad you, needle you to make a change. So they would say these things. 95% of our life comes from those programs. So if you have disempowering beliefs about who you think you are, because you got them from other people, that's how you know who you are. These disempowering beliefs play 95% of the day in an average person's life. So I say, yeah, well, my wishes and desires, I want success, I want great relationships, I want all these wonderful things, I want health. I go, well, that's conscious mind, because conscious mind's creative. But as science reveals, only 5% of the day are we operating from our own personal wishes and desires. 95% of the day we operate from the programs that we got in the first 7 years. And if those programs, which psychologists have told us 70% are negative and disempowering and self-sabotaging, I say, good, apply these 95% of the day in your life. And you realize why your life is a struggle. It's not a struggle because the universe is not providing. It's a struggle because your own consciousness is not accepting. And this is where we have to change. And so getting control of your mind, taking charge of your consciousness is a way of overcoming those limitations. There are many different ways to take this control back in your life. And one of them is the ability to, like in yoga, for example, to be the master of your mind and not let it run the monkey mind. Let it run. No, I want this. Don't let this other one go. The world is in a state of evolution. And what I mean by evolution is not a physical evolution. Humans are not going to change into something different. The evolution that we're really experiencing now is an evolution in consciousness. A consciousness that has in the past separated us as individuals. A consciousness that has been programmed with a belief that life is a struggle and that we're out here to survive. We have to be in competition with each other and undercut and undermine. And we were acting as individuals, looking for our own individual power. But in today's world, there's a new understanding that the evolution is an evolution of consciousness, an evolution of an expansion of we are more than just these physical entities, that there is an energy involved. In Newtonian physics, the conventional ones that most people have learned, atoms are physical particles, like little granules. But in 1925, physicists came to another understanding because they said, so what are those particles made out of? You called atoms. And they went inside. And they found there were smaller so-called particles, electrons, protons, and neutrons, but that still wasn't the quest because what are they made out of? And that's when the world changed. Because when quantum physicists started to say, what is an electron or a proton or a neutron made out of? It's made out of energy, not physical, no substance. An atom is like a nano tornado, a spinning force field. There's an illusion that we are physical entities. You're an energy field. And I go, so what the heck difference does that make? And I go, well, here's the interesting part. Particles, I can separate. Here's a particle, here's a particle. Let's talk about one particle. Energy just mixes all together. I'm sitting in a field of energy right now. So if I'm made out of energy, which I am, does it mean that the edge of my energy stops right here? And the answer is no. In quantum mechanics, I'm an energy field. Wherever I go, I'm like a broadcasting an energy. Wherever you are right now, you're broadcasting energy. And so in a Newtonian world we grew up with, this is separate from this and that's separate from this. And I go, in a quantum mechanical world, nothing is separate. Everything is an energy field with no borders to it. So what I do in my world is not just what I do in my world. What I do in my world is broadcast to everything else. And if it resonates or is in harmony with you, my energy can affect your energy. Or my energy can actually cancel your energy. Everything is interconnected. The chair I'm sitting on is energy. The air I'm in breathing with is energy. I'm energy, you're energy. We're all connected in this energy. But the fact is, energies are communications. And we vibrate and broadcast just like a radio. We're broadcasting who we are out into the field, and we alter what's going on. It is beyond language. It's a communication. It has nothing to do with words. It's an energy that's available if you just want to feel it. And I think that's the big issue. Feelings. Because feelings are telling you, you feel good? Yes, I'm having more energy. You feel bad? You feel weak? I'm having less energy. And I say, why is it relevant? It's more powerful than words. Energy can tell me, am I with people that are supporting me because I feel good around them? Or do I have a little quasi feeling of this, it doesn't feel right to me? So we have a new world that we're coming into, and it's based on the energy. And if you can read energy, you are being guided. If you can't read energy, you don't know what's going to happen next. If you follow the words, that's where we have been sold a bill of goods, where people say, yeah, these are good words, what do you think? And then I'll buy that because the words. And I say, yeah, but if you ever stop long enough to say, how do you feel about it, not what you hear about it. It empowers you beyond anything in the world. So the wake-up call now is, yeah, listen to people, fine, but feel it, people. Feel where you are. Feel, is this what I want to do? Do I want to do this or I want to do that? I say, you can ask your head and rationalize anything. But I say, don't ask the question of your head. Ask the question of your heart. Your heart is the monitor of the vibration. Your heart will give you an answer more accurate about anything in your world than your rational thinking will. When a raindrop hits a pond, the ripples that come off of the raindrop are the shape of water, but the water was shaped by the energy from the rock. So the energy is now visualized, not the ripple itself, it's the shape of the ripple. So we have all these waves. And I go, so what? And I say, well, when you look at a pond and it's raining out, the first thing you notice that all the ripples are converging with each other and they're modifying each other. And that, so basically everything is connected and everything is energy. But the final shape is really dependent on the waves and their patterns when they come together. Some energy comes together and it enhances power. That's called constructive interference. And in human terms, that is good vibes.
Yeah.
Mainly because you're an energy pattern, and if you're in an energy field that is in harmony with you, two energies in harmony come together and they add up so that we get more power. Okay, so there are fields that are really good and you can feel them, good vibes. And as I said, what's good vibes? I feel more power being around you. Not that I'm touching you or anything at that level, because you're radiating energy, I'm radiating energy, but if we're radiating harmonic energy.
Yeah, we're in musical terms, synchrony or harmony.
Harmony.
Right, versus dissonance.
And that's enhancing of power.
Yeah, yeah.
But then there's another form of energy, and this other form of energy is, let's say this wave is going up and this wave is going down. When this one's going down, this one's going up. So they're not in harmony, okay? And they're interfering, and it's called destructive interference, which is the opposite of when we just said two harmonies come together. Yeah. They're interfering, but it's called constructive because there's more power. But two energies can come together in a destructive form and cancel out everything. And like in technology, they have earphones that are called noise canceling. Yeah. You got all this noise, you put the earphones on, the noise disappears. I said, where'd the noise go? And the interesting part was the earphones have a microphone. They're recording the sound of the environment, the vibration. And then through the electronics, it plays the sound back, but just out of phase. So they're not both in harmony now. One is going up and the other's going down. They're just out of phase. But that, when you add up two out of phase waves, that's cancellation.
That's so brilliant.
To make, those kind of earphones, for example, noise canceling it's not you subtracted something from a noise. You added a noise to a noise. You added a vibration to a vibration. So now I say, oh, well, now there's a range. Energies can come together and enhance and multiply and be more powerful, or energies that are not in harmony can come together and cancel each other out, okay? Constructive interference, destructive interference, but in human terms is constructive interference, good vibes, more power, and destructive interference, bad vibes. There's a lot of people that have doubts about the concept of the influence of global meditation. And rightfully so, because we've always been programmed to ignore the invisible realm as not being relevant to our world. But now, with an understanding of quantum physics and the role that the invisible realm is more powerful in shaping the physical realm than is the physical realm itself, it really adds emphasis to the character that the energy fields in which we live are actually shaping the world that we experience. Is this just a made-up idea that I just said? The answer is no. There are scientific studies that have shown how meditation and groups have changed characteristics of cities or towns in regard to violence or love or what was going on in the city. So basically it said while meditators were in the practice of their meditation and bringing peace to the city, it actually changed the people in the city according to the statistics. Point. Did it work? And the answer is absolutely. Unfortunately, when the meditators went home, the whole thing stopped. Point is very simple. If we live with that spiritual activism in our heart and use it every day, then this is not just an on and off event. This is a continuous process of shaping the environment and the community in which we live. What we now know is the conscious mind, if you stay in the conscious mind, you have power. But if the conscious mind is thinking, It is not using its power to interfere with to enact with the outer world. Thinking is using the power to go to the inner world. So a thought is not outside, a thought is inside. Yeah, but the conscious is reading the thought. So I said, well, what does that mean? I said, well, the conscious is helping me create this world. Oh, wait, the moment I'm thinking, I have to take that consciousness, redirect it, not look out, but redirect it because thinking is inside. So I said, well, what does that mean? I said, well, the moment you are thinking, you are not creating your world at this moment. I said, what does that mean? I say, if you're driving the car and all of a sudden you start thinking, what it means is you're not looking out the window anymore. You are now looking inside because answers for thoughts are on the inside. And then you go, oh my God, you stop looking out the window, the car's gonna crash. And I go, cool part, or not.
Yeah.
The subconscious is autopilot. So the moment consciousness is not paying attention, the subconscious takes the wheel. But now comes the problem. The subconscious is not you, it's the program. So if I got bad driving instructions, then when the subconscious takes the wheel as autopilot, it's going to take me down the road to ruin. It's not going to take me to where conscious says, I want to have this wonderful success. But my program is you're not worthy, you're not smart enough, you're not deserving. So when that program grabs the wheel, it's not going to take me to success. It's going to take me to where the program goes. So if I disempower you in your programming, and 95% of your life comes from that, the rest of your life is struggle. And it's not because you couldn't create it, it's just you didn't realize that this subconscious guy is working 95% of the time, and you don't see it. And this is where, how come life seems to be a struggle from the outside coming in when it's like, oh my God, you didn't get it. You're creating both success and you're creating failure. It's not coming from outside. When people gather together and have thoughts like a meditation on healing or peace and love, that when they come together, they can influence the world around them. In fact, even the project called the Global Coherence Project revealed that when people come together and start sharing awareness, it actually changes the electromagnetic field of the earth. So our thoughts are not passive, they're influencing everything in the world in which we live. So when people come together, consider this, that each person's brain is like a tuning fork sending out thoughts and vibration. And this is revealed in the science of magnetoencephalograph. Most people are familiar with something called the electroencephalograph. You put wires on a person's head and you could read their brain activity. But a new understanding of how to read brain activity, magnetoencephalograph, the probe is out here. This is the most profound insight for this reason. If I can read your brain activity out here, that means your brain activity is not contained in your head, it's broadcast into the field. So each of us, our brains are like tuning forks sending out vibrations to the world. Each individual has a power to their tuning fork. But as more and more individuals come together, it's an additive effect. That you have more individuals, more power, and the more individuals, the more power. And so as we come together in a group, our thoughts are really being amplified and sending out a vibration. And these vibrations affect people who are not even listening really, because the power of amplitude of these thoughts will entrain people who are not even paying attention because of this power. So a person just walking through a field will go, feels it because we're all broadcasting this energy. And this is why coming together in a community and sharing awareness has power. A very simple point. If I go outside with my tuning fork right now and say, let there be peace in the world, I'm not necessarily going to change anything, maybe not even anything right here in the street. But if we get a large number of people to have the same thought, we change the world. And this is why it's so important to understand the collective nature of consciousness. That when we all start to have harmony, we broadcast that harmony and the world will become in harmony with our thoughts. When we're not really feeling well, is that a physical problem or is it an emotional chemical problem? Well, when it turns out that less than 10% of disease, in fact, maybe even closer to 1% of disease is actually connected to our genetics and our physiology, we have to say, then where is our illness coming from? And the answer is not from the mechanism, but from the consciousness that is driving that mechanism. And this is the relevance of the new science of epigenetics versus the old belief called genetics. They both sound the same, genetics, epigenetics, but there's a revolution. And what's the difference?
The belief in genetics is that when I say this issue, this illness, or whatever it is under genetic control, is the belief that genes are actually manifesting the problem. Now there's an issue about that. As far as we know, we didn't pick the genes we came with. If we don't like the characteristics we have, can't change the genes. And then we're also told that genes turn on and off by themselves. If you put all that together, you're recognizing you're not in charge of your life. Your genes are controlling your life. Well, that's the old belief. Because the new science is called epigenetics. And it sounds the same, but that epi is a revolution for this reason. Epi means above. So for example, what do we call skin? Epidermis. I said, what does it mean? The layer above the dermis, epi, above. So I said, then what does epigenetic control means? It simply translates as this: control above the genes. What control is that? Consciousness. Your perception of your world is what controls your genes. And if you're not feeling well, the issue is you don't have to change your biology, you just have to change your perception. And this will then give you your power back. And this is what we have to recognize. We're not victims of biology, we are masters of our biology.
Patience, for a simple reason. You have to have patience in reprogramming because you're dealing with habits that will automatically replay themselves every time. You're trying to rewrite a habit, so you have to create a new habit. It's not going to happen the first time or the second time. But as you become aware and conscious of it, every time a negative behavior shows up and you are becoming more conscious, you're in the power position of changing that behavior at that moment and then engaging in behaviors that you really want. Therefore, not only does it take patience, but it takes practice. So you and your partner in a relationship have to have the dialogue with each other. When a behavior shows up that one of the individuals is creating and unaware of, then the other person must say, look, you perhaps didn't see what you just said or what you just did, automatic subconscious behavior, it wasn't really the best thing. And through a nice dialogue and through practice, what you can end up is, again, leading to an opportunity to engage with each other, and as a result, create new programming that supports both your wishes and desires and aspirations. And this is the next and last step of putting that honeymoon relationship back together. So, in conclusion, what can we say about this whole honeymoon effect is this. Number one, people talk about mind-body interactions and mind controlling life. And while a lot of people say, my mind wouldn't have created this life, you can go back to a point where you fell in love and recognize a very simple truth. What you created was not an accident. It was an activation of your conscious wishes, desires, and aspirations. You already did create heaven on earth. The issue is what happened to it? And I said, the interference from the subconscious mind. If you understand the programming and how that programming is the default behavior, and you understand how you can rewrite that programming, then you're given an opportunity to eliminate the negative programs in your subconscious that have been sabotaging you, and instead replace them with behaviors that correspond with your wishes and desires. And when you do that, so that your conscious mind and your subconscious mind have the same program, then guess what? At that moment, whether you're paying attention or whether you're not paying attention, you'll be engaged in the honeymoon experience. It never has to go away. The honeymoon is an experience that you could have your whole life. This is why we were here. We were here to create heaven on earth. The one time you did it is when you fell in love. It could have stayed that way if you understood the mechanisms we have described here. But when you do understand the mechanisms, it says you can go back and recreate that and make it a permanent way of life. You were born into heaven. You've experienced it once or more, and you can do it again and again and again, because that's how powerful you are. You are a creator, and you are in heaven. When you use your creation, you will manifest heaven every day in your life and enjoy the beauty of a living experience on this wonderful planet.
The brain is like a tuning fork. The brain works by electrical vibration. It doesn't see things.
You know, oh, my eyes are sending in information. No, it doesn't see light, it sees vibration. Sound, vibration. Smell, vibration.
Yep.
So the brain is a receiver of vibration, but now, as we know, using what is called magnetoencephalograph, which is like electroencephalograph, EEG.
Yeah.
EEG, I put my wires on my head, and I'm recording brain activity. I'm not recording visual, I'm recording vibrations. So we say, oh, inside the brain there's a lot of electrical activity, vibrations, which are turned into meaning, okay?
Yeah.
But the new device is called magnetoencephalograph, not EEG, MEG.
Okay.
I say, what's relevant? I say, there's a probe, it's reading brain activity. You know what? It doesn't touch the head. The probe is out here.
Oh, yeah. I've heard you talk about that before.
Well, this
in your
becomes very
lectures.
critical because basically if I'm reading my brain function out here, my brain function is vibration.
Yeah.
And what am I reading? Vibration. Then it says, not only is my brain taking in vibration, but my brain is sending out vibration. Now, immediately we just talked about constructive and destructive interference. So if a negative vibration is coming into my world, my brain, using destructive vibrational frequencies, can cancel the negative around me. If something wonderful is coming into my brain can take that vibration and put it in harmony and then enhance the power of that vibration.
Yeah.
So the brain has an opportunity to cancel or enhance any vibration in the field.
So that vibration that the brain is putting out, would you translate that to the sound of your thoughts?
Absolutely. Vibration is sound. It's just a different octave, but it's all sound. But first of all, I mean, the hardest part that people, you know, it's very difficult for them, and it was even difficult for me, even reading the book on quantum physics, is there is nothing that's physical. Everything is energy and vibration.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult for the average person, like I was, to say, I'm looking at you, and I say, what a beautiful physical expression, and then to find out there was no physical expression, and now it's like, what the heck does that mean? And the fact is that we read vibration.
Yeah.
And so everything is vibration in the universe, and that's the bottom line of quantum physics. How long does it take for a baby to become independent? Well, at least 13 years. I go, yeah, but what happens in the 13 years? Well, the parents have to help the child grow and learn and mature so they can be independent. Parents, yes. They have to stay together? Yes, at least 13 years. Well, how can you keep two people together for 13 years after the reproduction? Mother Nature creates the cocktail of love, the chemistry from the brain, chemistry that includes dopamine for pleasure, vasopressin for attractiveness, and oxytocin bonding to that loved one of yours for what? At least 13 years. So while the chemistry of love helps us stay together long enough to raise our children, it also adds one of the most wonderful aspects of human life on this planet. The chemistry gives us the concept of compassion, altruism, love, and harmony that distinguish humans. And this beautiful experience is worth everything. And we should honor that on Valentine's Day. And that's why my job is to go around the world and hit people with the dart of love. And I love my job because I start to, oh, there's another couple. Hold on, oh, here we go. Oh, whoa, good one. Yeah, I love my job. Bringing, oh my God, I got hit with one of my own arrows. Oh, I'm so in love. Margaret! In all biological organisms, there's something referred to as the biological imperative. The biological imperative can't be found by biologists. There's no place I say, oh, here it is in the cell. But what it represents is the drive to survive. When we start to feel that our life is threatened, it's not a conscious at first. It's a gut feeling. It's visceral. Something in my gut says something's not right. This is the biological imperative looking at your potential future in the world that you're living in. And what we really have to recognize is that people are feeling it in their gut. The world is not right. It's not right. And I go, well, this is wonderful because this is a feedback system that's saying the world in which you live is not in harmony with you. And therefore, what it really means is that we have to change how we influence the world in our own way. And it says that if we start to change and send out love instead of just receiving fear, that the love we send out has two aspects. Yes, there's an external consequence of love. It influences everyone and everything around me. There's a profoundly different chemistry if I have a thought of love coming into my body, which you can feel. When you're in love, you can feel it. Yes, your cells are bathing in chemistry of love. But when you have fear, it's a different chemical response. It gets you girded up for response, protection, walling you off from the outside. I don't want that thing to come in and take care of, my inside. And I say, well, what's the relevance? And the answer is very simple. The chemistry released by the brain in fear shuts down the growth mechanism of the body, shuts down the maintenance of the body to conserve energy. And the biggest thing is there's only one consequence, and that is disease and illness. And it turns out 1% of disease on this planet is connected to genetics, and 90% of disease or more is lifestyle and the psychology of love and fear. 90%. And it says, be in love, and your body will be maintained, and your immune system will be at peak performance. Be in fear, and the game is over. The brain is a computer. That's a clear fact. And it has the same functions and systems as our silicon conventional computer that people is watching right now. And so here's the insight. I get a brand new computer, I got out of the store and I push start and it boots up. What does that mean? The screen lights up. I say, oh, great, got a brand new computer. Let's do a drawing. Let's do a story, a spreadsheet. And I say, no, I can't do it. And I say, why not? You got a brand new computer. I say, not until I put programs in the computer can I use that computer. And so I say, oh, and then after I got the programs in, then I can type and I can interface the computer. But without a program, I can't do anything. The human brain as a computer gets programmed starting in the last trimester of pregnancy through age 7 because the brain function is not high enough for consciousness most of the time. It's a little lower. And I say, that's what we said, theta, hypnosis. I say, why is it relevant? And the answer is very important. How many rules must a child learn to be a member of a family and a member of a community? There's thousands of rules to be a person in a community. I go, an infant can't read the book. I go, no, the infant brain is actually like a video recorder. It watches the mother, it watches the father, the siblings, it watches the community, downloads their behavior. Those are the programs. After age 7, a child then can work the computer and do what it wants, okay? So I basically say, so it started in utero. This is how a mother can play music through her abdominal wall, put the speaker there and repeat that music. And guess what? When the baby's born, she plays that music. The baby instantly knows that music. Or the father talks to the baby through the abdominal wall and repeats this. And when the baby is born, the moment the father says something, the baby will know which one the father is because it already memorized this stuff. It memorizes what the mother eats because of that nutrition coming through. I say, how does all this work? Simple. We talk about the blood as the culture medium with the chemistry that determines the genetics. And I go, so why is it relevant? I say, then whose blood is the fetus using in development? I go, the mother's. So I go, so why is that relevant? Well, if she's having an emotional response, that's chemistry. And I say, she's feeling that emotion, whether it's wonderful love or fear. And I go, so why is it relevant? That blood with the same chemistry of the mother is going into the fetus. I go, why is that relevant? The fetus feels what the mother feels. If the mother is under stress and the fetus is getting an experience that life is very difficult out there, if the mother is feeling love and support and everything, then the life is easy for the fetus. It started learning in the last trimester. But then for the next 7 years, it does the same. And I go, so why is it relevant? And I go, once I get past age 7, my consciousness can type on the keyboard. So I can program what I want. And then here comes the monkey wrench. And the monkey wrench is this. The conscious mind, which types, can think. And you go, so what? I go, thinking is inside. If I ask you, Jennifer, I say, tell me what you're doing, on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And right away, you can tell me, but you'd have to think, oh, Tuesday, what am I doing on Tuesday? I say, what's the point? The conscious mind, when thinking, stops looking out at the world, and the conscious mind looks inside. So what if you're driving your car and you're driving down the street and all of a sudden you have a thought? And I say, oh, conscious mind just not looking out anymore. I say, oh my God, I'm going to crash the car because of my consciousness is inside. I go, That's when the subconscious, when the conscious is thinking, the subconscious is autopilot and takes over. I go, so why is it relevant? I go, now science has recognized 95% of the day is the average person's amount of thinking. I go, so why is it relevant? Well, if conscious mind has your wishes and desires and subconscious has your programs, is your life coming from your wishes and desires? I go, 5%. 95% of your life is whatever the hell the program you got from that 7 years is going to play. And if you got a program that's not supporting you, then 95% of the day, your behavior will not support you because that program doesn't encourage you, okay? I always give the audience the same story for 40 years now.
Sure.
And you know the story, but I'll tell your community. I guess you have a friend and you know your friend's behavior. And you happen to know your friend's parent. And one day you see your friend has the same behavior as their parent. So you really want to tell your friend, you go, hey, Bill, you're just like your dad. I said, back away from Bill. Because I know what Bill's going to say. The first thing he said, how can you compare me to my dad? I'm nothing like my dad. And the audience laughs. I go, that's the most profound story in the world right now. I'll tell you why. Everybody else can see that Bill behaves like his dad. Who's the one that doesn't see it? Bill. I go, how the hell does that happen? I go, because when Bill is thinking, he lets go of the control. And while he's thinking, the behavior is playing. But because he's not even looking out at his own behavior, he doesn't even see his own behavior.
Yes.
So in his mind, no, I'm not like my dad. I go, but everybody else can see you behave like your dad. You're the only one that can't see it. And I go, so why is it relevant? And the answer is simply this. We are all Bill. We all have beliefs, wishes, and desires, and then we have to say, how come I'm not manifesting the world I want? How come I'm not as healthy as I want to be? How come I'm not creating the life I want if my mind is the creator? And I go, it is the creator, but then I tell you, but which mind are you operating from? And 95% of the day, you're not operating from conscious wishes and desires. 95% of the day, the subconscious programs are automatically playing. I go, what if those programs are not any good? And I go, well, you won't see it. They'll just be playing. You know what you'll see? The result. So very simply, I wake up in the morning with conscious mind. Today, I'm going to go find love. Today, I'm going to get healthy. Today, I'm going to get the best job. And then at 5 o'clock, you come home and go, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And I go, then what does that person think? Because they're like Bill. They go, oh, everything's against me. The universe against me. This person is responsible. That person's responsible for not letting me get my wishes and desires. And I go, no. All day long, you were shooting yourself in the foot with your own behavior, and you didn't even know where the gun was coming from. It was in your own hand. And I say, so why is it relevant? We have been programmed to believe that when it doesn't work, we are victims of the outside, when the truth is, no, 95% of the day, we were playing programs that did not support us. And as a result, at the end of the day, we didn't get that support, but we didn't see it. Why? Subconscious was below conscious was controlling your life. Your conscious mind is, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to fall in love. And I go, that's great, but that's 5% of the day.
Yeah.
But 95%. I go, I'm coming from a different program. And so when you look at your life, and this is a beautiful part because you say, what are my programs? I just want to help people right away. I'll tell you what your programs are. And you say, well, how do I know? I was being programmed before I was born. I was programmed from 0 to 1. Can you tell me what program you got when you were 0? No. Can you tell me the program you got at 1? No. Can you tell me the program at 2? No. About 3, you might say, oh, I remember some things. But I say, you've been essentially programmed with no awareness of the program. So you didn't even see the program. And now I say, so what is your program? And you go, I wasn't there. Now I give you the answer, and you're ready? 95% of your life comes from the program. Your life is a printout of your program. Look at your life right now, and I'm going to tell you this, very simple. The things you like that come into your life, they come in because you have a program to bring them in.
Yeah.
The things you want, health, relationship, good job, your struggle, you're working hard, you're putting a lot of effort in. I'm going to make it happen. I'm sweating. I'm going to work hard. Why are you working so hard? And the answer is simply this. Your own program doesn't support that. You're trying to override the 95% of the day that negative program is playing with 5% effort going, oh, I want it to be successful. I go, yeah, and 95% of the day, you got, what did you get from your parent? Not smart enough, not deserving, not good enough, not lovable. These are things that we downloaded in the first 7 years. And A very interesting fact is this: for 400 years, the Jesuits have told their followers the absolute truth, and nobody understood what they were talking about. I go, what do you mean? They would say, and this is a fact, for 400 years, they would say, give me a child until it is 7 and I will show you the man. What the hell does that mean? The answer is, just as I said, science has said, the first 7 years you're in theta, program. That's where you're learning. Then I said, but what about the rest of your life? I go, 95% of the rest of your life, program. So if I can control the first 7 years, I control the rest. And that's what they said. Give me a child until 7, I will show you the man. Meaning, if you let me do the first 7 years of programming, I will tell you how that child's life is going to work out. Less than 1% of disease is connected to genetics. Over 90% of illness on this planet is all due to stress and lifestyle. And I say, why is it relevant? Because if we understood this, then 90% of illness would disappear from this planet essentially instantaneously. So we have to make an understanding of how do they connect with each other, okay? So basically, the understanding is this. Cells have to adjust their biology for an environment. So as the environment changes, cells have to change their biology. And the significance about that, as we mentioned very briefly, is that the genes respond to the chemistry of the blood. I go, why? Because the chemistry of the blood comes from the brain. I go, yeah, but what chemistry comes from the brain? I go, it's based on the picture held in our mind. The brain translates our pictures into complementary chemistry. So, for example, if you open your eyes and you see someone you love, the brain translates love into wonderful, healthy chemistry, dopamine for the great pleasure, oxytocin to bond with your lover, growth hormone, which its function is exactly that. I go, so why is it relevant? I said, well, when people fall in love, they're happy, they're excited, and they're healthy, because the chemistry that comes from a picture of love is a chemistry that enhances the vitality of the cells. In contrast, though, if I open my eyes and I see something that scares me, I say, no love chemistry is coming out of this brain. Fear chemistry comes out. And I go, well, what is fear chemistry related to? And it's simply related to an ancient history. Fear means we were running away from a saber-toothed tiger back in those days. And I go, so what does fear represent? Something is chasing you. Something's interfering with you. Something's threatening. And fear and stress can come about. I'll give you a simple definition of what stress is. Anything that gets in the way of your destination, whatever your destination is, if something gets in the way of that destination, it provokes stress, okay? And I go, so what's relevant about this? And I say, let's go back and understand what the stress response was all about. And that was originally run away from that saber-toothed tiger. I go, what do you mean run away? I go, well, you want to save your life, you better start running, use arms and legs and start running. And I go, oh, so in a state of fear, you want to use your arms and legs. I go, yeah, you hit him with your pancreas. The lion doesn't care about that. But if you run away, you're going to make it. And I go, so here's the storyline. The arms and legs are what protect you. And I say, and to use them, they need blood, because blood is where energy is. Okay. Now I'm going to give you a statement out of a physiology book and then explain it very simply. And the statement is this: when a person's in stress, the blood is preferentially sent to the arms and legs. Okay, yeah. When I'm in stress, more blood is going to my arms and legs. I go, preferentially. Where was it before? I go, it was in the gut. I say, well, what's the function of the gut? Maintenance of the body, fixing, cleaning, repairing. It takes care of maintenance of the body. I say, so why is it relevant? I said, if you're running from a saber-toothed tiger, maintenance of the body is not necessary at this moment. Escape is necessary, because if you don't escape, then the body is nourishment for a tiger. So the issue about it is this: when stress hormones are released into the system, they cause the blood vessels in the gut to squeeze shut. I go, why is that? Because then it pushes the blood preferentially to the arms and legs. People feel that when those blood vessels are squeezing like this. It's called butterflies in the stomach. They feel a little queasy. I go, what is that? That's the closing of the blood vessels, shunting the blood off. You can feel it, okay? So I say, oh, so being chased by a tiger, I shut down the growth and maintenance of my body to use the energy to run away from the tiger, okay? Number two, the immune system uses tremendous amount of energy. I go, what do you mean? I said, well, if you've ever really been sick, you didn't even have the energy to get out of bed. Okay. So if the immune system is really engaged, you're using a lot of energy. And I go, well, the immune system is protecting me from an internal threat, bacterial infection. Okay. So now I give you this scenario. You're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger and you have a bacterial infection. How would you split the energy between repairing the infection or escaping the tiger? I hope everyone understands. The hell with the bacterial infection. Why? If the tiger catches you, the bacteria no longer is your problem at that moment.
Yes.
So basically, then it says this. When we are under a stress from an outside threat, the stress hormones shut off the immune system to conserve energy to escape the threat. And I go, wow, what does that mean? I said, well, it doesn't. You don't activate the immune system because you need all the energy to run away. And I go, well, this is very critical for a very important reason. And I say, well, why is it critical? And I say, well, you shut down the immune system. And as a matter of fact, it's the stress hormones are so effective at shutting down the immune system that when a person is going to receive an organ transplant, heart, lungs, or whatever, they give the recipient of those organs stress hormones before the operation. I go, why? Because it prevents the immune system from rejecting the foreign organ right away. It inhibits the immune system. So stress hormones are used therapeutically to shut off the immune system. So I say, what's the consequence of this? I say, well, you shut down the growth and maintenance of the body and you shut down the immune system. Yeah, but hey, if you escape the tiger, it's 10 minutes. If you escape in 10 minutes, no more threat. And I go, then what? Oh, you return back into growth again. Okay. So I go, so why is this relevant? I say, well, that was a long time ago when the only stress was the damn tiger. But today, people have stress 24/7, 365, stress every day, and it's dripping stress hormones into them. I say, well, what's it doing? I say, well, a couple of things I just mentioned. It's interfering with the growth and maintenance of the body, which has to be maintained. And I said, well, what's the consequence of that? I said, it's a breakdown of the system. So prolonged stress causes a breakdown of the system, okay? Number two, it inhibits the immune system, so you're more open to infections and threats from the outside. So now not only have I weakened myself, now I've made myself more open for infection because the immune system isn't working. And then I want to add the last one, because I call the last one adding the insult to the injury. Well, you just injured yourself. You're not maintaining the body. You're not using the immune system. I go, what else? I go, when you're in a fight or flight situation, thinking is not a good thing. I go, what do you mean? Thinking is slow. It's a very slow process. I go, so what happens? I say, when the stress hormones come into the body, they also squeeze the blood vessels shut in the forebrain consciousness. I said, so why would it do that? I say, because it pushes the blood to the hindbrain where reflex and reactions are taken care of. So let's say you're driving a car and it starts to go out of control. Guess what? You're not thinking. Instantly your consciousness is shut off. You're just reflexively with the wheel and the brakes, the pedals, whatever, no thinking. I go, oh, so then when we're under stress, we are less intelligent. I go, yes. And I go, why is that relevant? Because the fears that are in this world are always compromising us to the extent that the healthcare crisis is global, everywhere, okay? The amount of money you spend on healthcare doesn't mean anything is better. The U.S. spends the most money on healthcare and it's got the worst health statistics of any other country in the progressive West. I go, well, why is that relevant? I say, money didn't make us any healthier. The problem we have is not the immune system. The problem we have is stress. And then if you eliminate the stress, then the immune system and everything comes back to order again. And I go, so what's the issue? I say, the healthcare crisis today has virtually nothing to do with genes. 1% of illness, that's probably about the most. 99% obviously is coming from where is illness coming from? And the answer is stress and lifestyle. The stress is what? Is to prepare you for a threat. Stress says there's something threatening you. And I say, well, if I'm preparing for stress, that's what we just mentioned. I say, if I'm not threatened, I'm free to go outside and do anything I want. If I feel threatened, I'm going to wall myself off to protect myself, put all the goggles on, the face mask, and do all that. No, I'm going to be inside here. I go, you can't survive inside. I'll give a simple example. When I was young, we had air raid drills in the U.S. because we thought the Russians were going to bomb us. So we built bomb shelters. So I'll give you a very simple story. A city, a community is in growth. It's a beautiful day out. The businesses are working. The kids are in school. The community is growing and doing well. An air raid siren goes off. What does everybody do? They stop work. Where do they go? They go under the ground into the air raid shelter. I say, then what? I say, well, nothing is happening now. Everything's shut down. Okay. And I go, yeah. And I say, then what? I say, well, in 10 or 15 minutes, all clear. We get out of the bomb shelter. Everybody goes back to work. So it was like a, half-hour interruption during the day where we were growing. Then we spent a half hour in protection, and then we came out of protection and went back to work again. Everything was no problem. Here's the problem. The air raid siren goes off. You go into the bomb shelter, and there is no all clear. I said, what does that mean? I said, well, you can't come out of the bomb shelter. I said, until when? I said, you can't come out until it's all clear. I said, when's it all clear? I said, it's not getting all clear. I said, how long can I live in the bomb shelter? I said, not very long. Why? How much food did you put in there? How much water do you have in your bomb shelter? And the point is, you'll use up those resources, and if you don't come out, you will die in the bomb shelter. When we're in stress, we go into the bomb shelter psychologically. We wall ourselves off. We're safe inside here. And I say, how long can you survive inside the bomb shelter? I say, a short period of time was no big deal. But as you extend the time, my life becomes threatened. And this COVID crap is going around and extending the fear on and on and on again. We're having a second spike. I go, big deal. I mean,
normal, right?
Why have a
predictable?
How come I have a second spike? I said, if you take the susceptible people and you move them into a quarantine, so they're not exposed to the virus, and they're healthy in their room, and I say, then you say quarantine over and you come out. I go, did the virus go away? No, that's still there. Are you still susceptible? Of course you are. You didn't get any immune reaction in the bomb shelter over there. I say, so what do you think would happen if you let that group of people you put away back out? I go, they'll get infected just like that first group of people. And guess what? It's called a spike. I go, of course it's a spike. You took them out of the program. You put them back into the show. They get and then you say, second spike. I go, did you not expect a second spike? And what reason why would there not be a second spike? You didn't lose the virus. You didn't gain any immune precaution against it. You just opened up the next population. Yeah, here we are in the second spike. Of course, that's exactly what would happen if you take the population and put it away and then think, well, okay, now they can come back out. I say, you didn't change anything. They're just now the second spike. So all of this stuff. And I go, so you want to know what I believe the biggest problem of the whole thing is? Because I see it as a manipulation of information. And that is this. People have power when they're in a community. People have no power when there is no community. And the COVID system broke community all over the world at once. Everybody went to their room. I go, and what power do you have? I say, absolutely no power. People lost all the power in the world except for those that were manipulating what was going on outside of that room. And that was a way of disempowering an entire damn population of this planet with the fear that said, go hide in your room because you can't gather together. You can't have an opinion together. No, you can stay in your room and you stay in your room. And all of a sudden I say, oh my God, that's the biggest problem in the whole world. You've isolated people, and when you've done that, you remove their ability to have power.
Perception can rewrite the genetic code. When you're under stress, you will rewrite your genes. It's built into every one of your cells. You have genetic engineering genes. The function of these genes is if you find stress that the body cannot seem to get out of, the body will make an effort to change its structure to get out of the problem. And of course, the issue is this. What if your perception wasn't real? And you change your genes? Now you're in deep doo-doo. And we now find a very important fact. 95% of cancer has no genetic linkage. 95% of cancer is a response of the individual cells to their experiencing life. And if you change your experiences, you can change the presence of that cancer. That's how it works.
Why does stress cause so much disease? I'll tell you why. Stress, you're running away from that saber-toothed tiger, whatever's threatening you. And I say, what is stress? Anything that gets in the way of where you want to go is a stressor. I say, so why is that relevant? I go, because that's like in the mind, the saber-toothed tiger, and you want to run. That's what's fight or flight. And I say, but you use your arms and legs. I go, yeah, but that I need the energy. I said, the blood carries the energy. So I say, so what? When the stress hormones come into the body, you want the body to put the blood into the arms and legs because you're going to have to run. That's what fear and stress is about. I go, so what do you mean? Isn't it in the arms and legs? I go, yeah, but most of the blood is in your gut. I say, what's the gut? All the organs of maintenance, take care of your health, fix the blood, aerate, clean, all that stuff. I go, yeah, but when you're in stress, I don't need to take care of myself. I got to run away from the tiger. So stress hormones, number one, shut off the blood vessels in the gut. And I said, that's like butterflies in the stomach. When you feel that fear, that's the stress hormones causing the blood vessels to squeeze. I said, so why would you do that? Because then the blood is pushed to the arms and legs. That's where most of the energy is needed. That's number one. So you compromise health just by having stress hormones because you're shutting it off the maintenance. But number two, the immune system uses a lot of energy. That's why when people are sick, sometimes they can't even get out of bed. I say, so if I'm being chased by a saber-toothed tiger and I got a bacterial infection, how do I want to, split the energy? And I go, the hell with a bacterial infection. The saber-toothed tiger catches you. Bacteria is not your problem anymore. So guess what? Stress hormones by function shut down the immune system. And I go, and it's so effective that when doctors want to transplant a foreign organ into a recipient and they don't want the recipient's immune system to reject the foreign organ, before they do the transfer, they give the recipient stress hormones to shut off the immune system so it doesn't reject the foreign organ. I say, the stress hormones are so effective at shutting it off. They use it therapeutically to shut it off. And I go, why is it relevant? Because our entire world is in such stress all the time that they're dripping stress hormones. And I say, what are they doing? They're shutting off the growth and maintenance of the body. They're shutting down the immune system. I say, net result, illness and death from stress. And that is why up to 90% of illness comes from stress, because the chemistry of stress redirects your energy to run, not to be conscious and aware and healthy. Take care of yourself. I say, what do you mean? First of all, take care of your system. It will manage this virus without killing you. But first of all, you have to make sure your blood has proper nutrition. You need to be healthy in the system. And our diet is so compromised with industrial food and garbage food that I have to tell people, you've got to go back and eat natural. You have to go back and eat organic because industrial farm stuff is filled with chemistry that is causing you more problems.
It's killing you.
Number two, take vitamins and supplements. Why? Especially vitamin C and vitamin D. These enhance the immune system. Lots of vitamin C, way beyond whatever they say.
You met Linus Pauling?
Yes, and it's interesting because I lectured at his institute when I was at Stanford.
Wow.
And it was interesting because the science has revealed that massive doses, I take 2 grams of vitamin C every morning.
High five.
And the relevance about that is I'm also, what am I trying to do? De-stressing. I'm not stressed. I live in another world. I walk out the door. I don't live in that world of the people around me. They're the ones that are stressed. I'm like, I'm not stressed. I'm okay. I'm 76. Am I afraid because I'm old? Bullshit. It's BS, belief system, excuse me, that I'm not afraid to go outside. I eat well. I take vitamins and supplements. Hey, do work, exercise, something to keep the body moving because that enhances the vitality of the circulatory system, which is delivering immune function. So eat well, vitamins, supplements, do exercise. And number 4, most important, do not put the fear in your head. Because the function of the mind is to manifest whatever you believe. And if you start to believe in the fear, then the function of the mind is to manifest that fear. And that's why the whole idea is shut off the damn TV and don't listen to these people because they are disempowering you with fear. And fear is where you lost your power, because once you do, fear is you shut yourself off, and you can't shut yourself off. We are connected to a world. You can't live in a bubble, you'll die. And the idea is, if you buy the fear, you are putting up walls around you because you want to protect. I'm protecting here. I say walls are the opposite of growth. Growth, you have to open yourself to put things in, okay? And fear is you shut everything down. There's a thing called resonance. When something vibrates at the same vibration, they enhance their power. So two instruments are playing at the same vibration, that vibration is more amplified, okay? But here's the point. Why does a patient come to a doctor? And the answer is because we have been programmed to believe that's our source of healing. They never said what the doctor had to do when you were a kid. Oh, you're sick, we go to the doctor. Nobody told you what a doctor would do. What did you learn? That the doctor provides whatever it is. So we give up power over our life because that doctor's a professional. What the hell do I know? I'm just an average person. So when it comes to a truth, which is my conscious and subconscious mind, when it comes to a truth, I give up power to the doctor. So if the doctor has got a lot of energy and everything is energy, that's a whole different, I wish we had another hour, I'd talk about that, but the illusion of matter, that's we look like everything is physical, and quantum physics is a science that says, no, everything is energy. So I say, when a person who is an energy source goes to a doctor who is an energy source, the healing comes from the doctor having a higher energy, a higher, more powerful energy. So when I walk into the doctor's office, just walking into the doctor's office, all of a sudden I feel a different energy because that's the person that knows and I don't. And I say, so why is it relevant? I say, if a doctor goes in not having a good day, and chiropractors know this, they can practice for years, and then sometimes they go in and the whole day is crappy adjustments, and it's like, it's not working. Well, I say, what, did you forget how to do an adjustment? You've been doing it 30 years. And they go, no, they came in with their own mind not being in harmony, whether they had a fight with their spouse or their financial issues. And I go, why is it relevant? The person that came in for the healing came in for the extra energy that the healer was going to give them. But if the healer themselves have broken energy because of the stresses and there's all that, when the patient comes in, the doctor has no powers very much. And that's why they realize, geez, my adjustments didn't work and I've been doing them all these years. I go, you didn't forget how to do adjustment. But when you're touching somebody, that's called hands-on healing. And if you're putting in energy that's less than the energy of the patient, then the energy of the patient comes down instead of going up. And all of a sudden it says, physician, heal thyself, meaning before you go in there and deal with the patient, they came in for your energy. And if your energy is not up to the higher level, then you can't boost their energy. You can only boost it if your energy is higher. And so the physician, the healer, the nurse, more important, because they're even the ones that more importantly are the more dialogue connected to the patient than a lot of physicians who hardly even notice what's going on. But it's nurses a lot and the aides that are doing a lot of the healing. Why? They have the energy, they spend more entanglement time.
Sure.
And therefore, that's really interesting. So what is healing? I say raising the energy, the vibration. Energy is life. No energy, death. High energy, a lot of life. Is the physician, the healer, the nurses, the attendants, are they offering more energy than the patient has? If they do, then you're lifting the health of that patient. I'll leave with this because it's so profoundly important in our world today, and that is this. Apparently, presumably, one of the last things Jesus said when in the crucifixion was, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. And I go, we have to recognize that every human is a spiritual entity, but also a program. And we have to recognize that they are not their program. That's been foisted upon them. And then somebody has a bad program and we get into like this, I say, you have to learn to forgive them because they themselves, like Bill didn't know he's behaving like his dad. They don't know it either. And so the idea is that word, that phrase applies to each one of us to move into the future. And that is recognize that everyone is a spiritual entity, but a lot of people have some bad programs. Does that make them a bad person? I go, it makes a bad program for sure. Do I have to hang around with them because they got bad programs? I say, no. But do I have to hate them? No. because they don't even know what the hell they're doing. And all of a sudden it says, this forgiveness of people doesn't mean you have to be with them. You know, they want to play that program, fine, you do it over there, I'm over here. But you have to recognize, is it them or their program? And then when you recognize this, then that's where that quote comes important. Forgive them. Bill didn't know what the hell he was doing.
And we are all Bill.
We're all Bill. By the way we are polluting the atmosphere and destroying the ecosystem, we are aggravating climate change. We're exacerbating climate change. So we are indeed involved. And the significance about it is this: climate change is our most immediate problem on this planet. Of course, you've seen the pictures of seawater rising with melting ice caps and thinking that's where the big problem comes from. And yet, on a positive note, let us recognize a simple fact. Human civilization is the most adaptable of all organisms on this planet. The question we ask now is, will we learn to adapt when climate change is a continuous process and we cannot depend on growing food to support the population? The takeaway message of all this quantum physics stuff is simply this, is that we are energy, we're entangled with the whole field of energy, the whole universe is one interconnected whole, and this is how we are connected to each other. However, during our developmental programming, we get beliefs that are programmed into us by our parents through our culture, and then these beliefs then become the reality that we experience. Historically, we define our populations based on separateness. Separate on race, religion, origin of country. It's the separateness that divides the population. An interesting point that evolution is actually the unification of everyone come together in harmony. Then we have to recognize the programming of separation is the divisive nature that is preventing us from evolving into the future at this time. I'd like to show you through an illustration the simplistic nature of what's happening to us. And I'll say, here are 3 cells. Where did these cells come from? They came from the environment through a process of evolution, all coming from the very same source. Well, this is when programming begins, and look what can happen. You can program one child to be a Christian, you can program an identical twin of that child to be a Muslim, or another one of the same children to be a Jewish child. This is separation. Is it separation of who they really are? I say, no, you can't separate that. We all came from the same source. What we have to recognize is it's the programming that places the separation. So many people think, when you die, you go to a place called heaven. I go, you didn't understand. We were born into heaven. This is where we came to create. This is where we came to experience. If you lose the body and go out there, you have consciousness. That's really great. I'm not saying it's not. But here's the opportunity to what? To manifest, make something, do something, experience something. If you then decide, I'm going to do it metaverse, I go, well, then you wasted all these beautiful receptors that were designed to have those wonderful experiences, to manifest them for real.
More powerful. They can do more.
Earth is heaven. And yet for most people, it's hell. I go, is it hell because you can't, because it's the bad place? I say, no, it's hell because your program that you got took away your creativity and programmed you to be the victim in a world that you're actually creating. So as a victim, you can create a world of being a victim. And the idea is, but if you're a master, then you can create the world of being a master. You are a great example of it. You did driving. Then you created the wine, and then you had the cosmetics or the candles and all that other, all that stuff. You took your mind and took it out and made creativity. What is heaven? What is it you want? What is heaven is a definition of what you want. I said, do you have to die to get what you want? I say, no, matter of fact, it's easier to get what you want when you're alive because this is where you can do it. So the big joke is everyone's thinking, oh, when I die, I'm going to go to heaven. And I'm going, Jesus, your whole missed the experience, man. It was here is where you created. Are you creating heaven or are you creating hell? That was a creation. And the idea is if you own it, like you've done, like I've done, like the people that you've interviewed on your program, they have taken over ownership of their creation and they're creating the life that they want. And most other people are saying, oh, this is against me and my genes aren't good and this world and that and I'm a victim. And I go, sorry, folks, you missed the opportunity to create. Next time you come back, you'll figure it out maybe. It's interesting because all the people that are here are in what is called evolution.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks, oh, evolution takes millions of years. I go, no, that was the old version. Because the new version shows that evolution builds up and then some cataclysmic event drops it and it builds up again and another cataclysmic event drops it. These are called mass extinctions. 5 of them have already occurred. The last one when the dinosaurs were here. The planet was lush, tropical forest, dinosaurs and everything. A comet, a big one, hit near Mexico. It caused the web of life to come undone. What happened? 75% of all living things disappeared, including the dinosaurs. That was the last mass extinction. Today we're in mass extinction number 6. And science says, well, what's causing this one? And the answer is our behavior is destroying ourselves and the environment. The illness said the planet is got a health crisis everywhere.
In other words,
blamed it on the genes, and it was like, no, it's culture.
In other words, when we are able to collectively change our behavior, we can avoid the 6 mass extinction.
That's the only choice we have, actually, and it will work. And who will be left? The ones that let go of the old structure and said, I will now put my life energy into building a new structure. So I use the story of a caterpillar that turns into a butterfly. A caterpillar is voracious. It eats everything. You put a caterpillar on a plant, eat all the leaves off the plant. Then I say, then what? I say, well, when the food runs out, it goes into a chrysalis, a pupa, a cocoon. And then comes out a butterfly. I say the butterfly has the lightest touch. Doesn't even touch the plant. It's flying most of the time. The caterpillar is voracious, eating up everything. I say human civilization is in a caterpillar mode. We are eating up the environment. We're destroying the environment and everything like this. I say, but there's a point where we have to go into the cocoon. I say, why? You can't live this way anymore. I say, now here's where the issue that we just talked about. A caterpillar comes in, a butterfly comes out. I go, but the cells of the caterpillar, which are like miniature people, when the caterpillar was eating it all up, all the cells were working, the muscle cells, the digestion cells, everybody's working, all the cells are working, no more food. Oh, well, there's no more digestion. So what about the digestion cells? Oh, they lose their job because no more food. What about the muscle cells? No, we're not moving anymore. There's no place to go. And the muscles, I say, the community of cells in the caterpillar break down, make a soup of cells. And then what? And here comes the important part. Some of the cells are called imaginal cells, and they have a vision of a different organization, a vision of a butterfly. So what's happening is the caterpillar cells are breaking down the community, but the imaginal cells are taking those cells and showing, wait, we built something better. We built the butterfly. Civilization is destroying the planet. We can't do it anymore. So it says what? You have to transformation. You have to go metamorphosis. You have to change from the voracious human civilization into a civilization that has a light touch on the planet. And so I say, so what it means? I say, well, in the cocoon, some cells are breaking down, some cells are being built. I say, which one do you want to be with? I say, don't hold on to the one breaking down because it's going to break down. Let go of the one that's breaking down. Put your energy, your effort, your action into building the better one that is coming. And so we're in the middle of this chaos, which is coming down and being built up. And I say, your health and your future is dependent on which one of these you want to hold on to. You want to hold on to the caterpillar? You're going to die because the caterpillar is death and the butterfly is life. And so we're facing at this moment with the breakdown, the jobs are being lost, the economy is crashing, the whole world is in a shaky. I say, in this moment of shaky, you have a choice. And I say, unfortunately, too many people, oh, I want the old one, give it back to me, the old one. I said, the old one is the problem. And you got to let go. And I say, you got to have harmony. I go, what's harmony? I go, vibration. What's vibration? I go, music. You're creating thoughts are vibration. That's when they put wires on your head. They read called the electroencephalograph. They're reading your mind. I said, what are they reading? Vibration. I say, so if you change the vibration, change the mind, you get another world. And therefore, vibration is the key element of quantum physics that determines if we're going to build something or we're going to take something down, depends on the vibration. I mean, the first one was so small and irrelevant in one sense, but so powerful was I'm working on this going, oh my God, I've been programmed. And if I follow the program, it's a good program, great. But if it's a bad program, I'm going downhill. And I remember I was in my office at the university and one of my faculty colleagues came in that day and said, okay, Bruce, what are you bringing to the faculty party on Saturday night? And I want to tell you, faculty party, might as well just kill yourself. You go there and everybody's sitting around with a drink, not talking to each other because they don't really like each other.
Be there.
Work in this, okay? And I thought about that and I thought, I work all damn week. Why should I go to a stupid faculty party and waste the entire time where I had freedom to create something I would love to do? So, it just came right out of my mouth. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was this weekend. I have other plans. I can't go this weekend. I didn't have plans, but I just said that. And he looked at me like, you're not going to the faculty party? I go, no. And he walked out. And the moment he walked out, I went, oh crap. I just got Saturday night for me. I can do what I want on Saturday night. And I started to say, what's next?
And it lined up.
What can I get rid of that I've been programmed that this is what we do socially, even though it takes away character, quality, joy out of life? And I started to eliminate them and say, wait, I'm creating this. I don't want to give up my creation because socially, this is what we should do. I said, I got my life, man. I want to live it. And I have been living a heaven on earth life ever since those days. Why? Well, with the help of my partner, Margaret, who I met at 50, so 40 is a kid's age, at 50, and she was quite aware of all the stuff that I talked about. We rewrote our programs.
Beautiful.
And we've been together, 26 years now?
Oh my God.
A honeymoon every day. I wake up, hey, I'm still alive. I've got a great partner. We have a great life. I work every day. I wake up. It's like, wow, I'm still here. I'm enjoying every day that I can get. It's called the honeymoon effect forever.
Wow.
So how do you do that? I say, get rid of the programs that took the joy away and replace them with programs that give you joy. There's Bruce Lipton has two lives. Bruce Lipton, the guy who lives in the house and goes to the store and all that stuff, okay? And Bruce Lipton, a scientist. I go, what's the difference? I say, Bruce Lipton, a scientist, knows that from science, we are facing our own extinction because of our own human behavior. Bruce Lipton, as a scientist, also knows this. If you want to create a world that we can live in and sustain ourselves and be healthy, we have to change our behavior because our behavior is causing the problem. Mm-hmm. So I also know, what does this mean? It says the structure has to break to build a better structure, a new civilization. Because the foundation of this civilization is creating all the problems. It's the culture and the way we live with fear and hate and violence and all that. And I go, a garden, which we came from, a garden is the height of cooperation. And we live in the height of war and violence and all this stuff. We live in competition. And the idea is this. Then the belief system of this civilization, the fear, the competition, the war, all that stuff, that's part of our creation because we're creating this physics. I say, you want to change the world, you got to change the creation. And we have to break this structure because the structure is perpetuating the problem.
Yes, and it has to go in a chaos phase, has breakdown, yeah.
That's right. So Science Bruce goes, yep, it has to break down because that's how we're going to build a new one. And then Bruce, the guy who lives here, goes, what a mess. This is a crazy mess. This is scary. And blah, blah, blah. I'm living in crazy mess. But then Bruce Lipton Science comes in and says, you have to do this because the way you have been living is causing the problem. You have to change. And that's easy to say, but if you're out there in the world as a working person and everything, and you have to experience, it's like it's falling apart. I go, that scares people. Stress hormones. Stop thinking and listen to whatever they said on the TV or the web. Don't think. Shut down your health. Why? Because I'm running from that tiger because I am scared. And the point is, then the health issues got worse. Just watching the news, you walk away with the stress hormones coming in. They're like, oh, and I go, you just all of a sudden made your system worse because the stress hormones are going to compromise you. The things that you wish for, desire, want in your life, and you have to work hard, sweat over it. I'm putting a lot of effort in. I'm going to make it. I'm working on it. And I go, why are you working so hard? The answer is beautiful. Because whatever that destination is, you don't have a program to support it. And you're trying to override a habit that doesn't give you what you want by putting more effort into it. And I go, good idea, not good process. Why? 95% of your life is coming from that program. And 5% from this little conscious mind up here cannot mathematically, if you think about it, the subconscious, 1,000,000 times more powerful programmer than the conscious mind. I say, and you want to override the subconscious? I go, boy, that's a bitch. That's not going to work very well. And yet there are ways to do it, because if it didn't, this is going to be a lousy interview. But there are ways to rewrite it. And the idea about it is, if you understand the process, you can rewrite your life and change the outcome. You can change these programs sometimes in 15 minutes or less, okay? But you need to know how to do it, okay? The relevance about all this is the movie The Matrix. It's science fiction. I go, no. Movie The Matrix is a documentary. What do you mean? I go, premise, everybody's been programmed. I go, oh, that's a given. We are all programmed from last trimester to age 7. Everyone is. But in the movie, they say, well, you can take a red pill and get out of the program. And I want to suggest that most people in our audience right now that we have here today have taken the red pill at one time or another, and their life profoundly changed. I go, when was that? One of the best examples is when people fall in love. I go, what do you mean? I go, well, their life is blah, 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 blah. They fall in love. They meet somebody 24 hours later. Oh, life is so beautiful. I'm so in love. I'm so happy. Look, I'm glowing. Look, I got growth hormone in my system. I go, 24 hours later, after blah, 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 all those years, and 24 hours later, you manifest heaven on earth? I go, how'd that happen? And the answer is beautiful. Because the answer is, when you fall in love, you stop thinking. You stay present. It's called staying mindful. I go, what does that mean? I say, when you're thinking is when the subconscious autopilot kicks in. If you're not thinking, then the conscious creative mind is the one that's manifesting your life. So I go, the moment you fell in love, why would you think? And the reason is this: you've been waiting for this person your whole life. They showed up. You want to think and disconnect from this? I go, no, you want to stay present. You want to be mindful. You want to be there. I go, you stop thinking. I say, what's the result? It's the red pill. The moment you stop thinking is you're not diverting to the subconscious anymore. You are operating from conscious wishes and desires. And so the honeymoon is not an accident. It's a manifestation that says, I'm not playing the program. You're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. I say, you need energy to survive. You have to run. I say, where's the energy going to go? I say, well, energy's in the blood. That's what carries the energy. I say, when the stress hormones come in because the tiger is chasing you, it does several things. It shuts off the blood flow to the gut, the viscera, all the organs, pancreas, stomach, intestines. I go, it shuts off the blood supply. I say, why? I don't need to fix and maintain the body if the tiger is going to catch me. Then that's a waste of my energy. I want all the energy go to my arms and legs to escape. So I say, stress hormones shut off the mechanism of the viscera, the growth and maintenance of the body while you're being chased. I say, what else? And here comes the one that you were bringing up. When we're really sick, you don't have a lot of energy to even get out of bed. because the immune system uses a lot of energy to keep you healthy. I go, so I'm being chased by a tiger and I have a bacterial infection. So I'm putting energy into run away. I'm putting energy into the infection. I go, why do you worry about the infection? Because if the tiger catches you, the infection is not a problem anymore. You're done, okay? So this is the point you brought up, and this is the most important point for the audience to understand. Stress hormones shut off the immune system so that the energy can be used to run away from the tiger before being used to fight the bacteria. And this is the most important understanding, because stress is the cause of over 90% of illness on this planet. Everyone thinks genes are causing the illness. I go, less than 1% of illness is connected to genes. 90% of illness is stress, because when you put the stress hormones in, what do? They shut off the maintenance of the body. They shut off the immune system, and they even shut off the intelligence. I go, what do you mean they shut off the intelligence? I say, if the conscious brain, the one up in the front that's connected to you, your person, is a slow processor, like a slow computer. The subconscious is like a super fast computer. If you're being chased by a tiger, it's not the time to think of, I go, no, run! And so the stress hormones shut down the blood vessels in the forebrain, where the consciousness is, pushes the blood with the energy to the hindbrain, where reflexes and reaction, no thinking, because thinking is slow. So I say, so then stress hormones do three things. Number one, they shut off the growth and maintenance of the body. Number two, they shut down the immune system, which protects you from internal problem. And number three, they make you less intelligent. And I go, look at the world today. The stress levels are overriding. As I said, 90% of illness is straight stress, not genetics. It's lifestyle. It's the fear. It's not living in harmony. They don't have enough good music to bring harmony into their world. They're on edge. I go, well, that automatically compromises your health. Humans have morality. We're supposed to anyway. You know, don't kill things. Okay. We're supposed to have morality. Yeah. But corporations have no morality. They just have a mission. How much money can I make? That is the mission by law of what a corporation is. So I say, then that's why they can do anything. Let's destroy the environment if we can make enough money. And all of a sudden you start to see the leadership of this world is not really caring about what the individuals want. They want to appease the money-making part. And then the laws come down, and if it conflicts with a corporate law, then screw the people. Let's give the corporation their due. And that's once we gave up and we said humans are like, corporations are like humans and have the power of a human. I go, no, they don't. They have no morality. They're nothing like a human at all. And we gave them all the power. And this is a wake-up call for all of us. It said, who's caring for you? You know, I love it. They always talk about the friendly banker. When's the banker friendly? The banker is friendly when you have money.
Yeah.
If you don't have money, banker's not so friendly anymore. Doesn't care about you at all. Absolutely. You know, and I go, same thing, pharmaceutical company. You got money? We're working with you. Yeah, I don't care about you if you have no money. And we lost. And so the evolution we're facing right now says, we have been driven to this by minds that have no care for an environment. Take what you want, do what you want, throw crap into the water, you know, all this kind of stuff. Dig out the natural resources. It's like, what's our future if you do this? The answer is, it's already happening. Extinction. We're not in harmony with each other, obviously, and we're not in harmony with nature. And I say, well, that you got two choices here. Follow the money or follow the harmony. And right now, unfortunately, this is a tug of war, and corporates are winning because fear. Because once you're afraid, you give up power. Fear is a definition. I'm afraid. And I go, well, then who's going to help you? Who's got the biggest stick?
Yeah.
Who's the one with the biggest clout? Let's give them the power. And I'll wait here for them to fix it. And I go, they're clubbing you over the head at this point, and we have to wake up. I'm sorry I went on a tirade a little bit, Ryan. An adult has all different ranges of vibrations of brain function, but when a child is born, for the first 2 years, it has a very low vibration called delta. And a child is in delta. Well, adults, when they're in delta, that's called sleeping. Well, yeah, for the first year and a half or two of a child's life, they spend most of their time in delta, so that's the predominant vibration of a child's brain. But around 2 years of age, the vibration of a child's brain increases at a higher level of vibration, and this level is called theta. Well, theta, that's characterized by imagination. And that's true. A child between the ages of 2 and 7 is mixing the real world and the imaginary world at the same time. So, for example, the child's on a broom pretending it's a horse. Well, to that child, that broom is a horse. So if the mother says, "Give me the broom," the child looks at her like, "What are you talking about?" Because the child really experiences that as a broom. Oh, on the old famous tea party where they pour nothing into the cup and they drink nothing and they go, "That was the best tea I ever had." Well, mixing imagination in the real world is what happens between ages 2 and 7 when a child is experiencing theta. But by the time the child reaches 7, the vibration goes a little bit higher, and we call that vibration alpha. And alpha is calm consciousness. Well, that's the child's life in the beginning of consciousness. It's very peaceful and loving. But then around age 12, the vibration goes up even higher. Now it's called beta vibration. Well, beta vibration is the brain activity when a child is in school or when an adult is working. And the beautiful part about this is every year of the child's life, the vibrations get greater and greater. And then when we're adults, we have the whole range. Yes, at night when we're sleeping, it's delta. And just in the morning before we wake up, called twilight reverie, the brain kicks into a higher vibration, theta. And then as the alarm clock goes off and we're ready to wake up, the brain is now in alpha, calm consciousness for the morning. And then, on the way to work, the vibration even gets higher. Now it's called beta. And at work all day long, that's a very high functioning consciousness, beta. You know, the interesting part, though, is when you come back home, it goes back in reverse. So you come home from work and you've been working all day, you're in beta, and then when you get home, you start to calm down and relax, and the vibration slows down to alpha, calm consciousness. And then guess what? The moment you fall asleep and your eyes close, the brain is now in a lower vibration, theta, and then as you go a little deeper, guess what? Delta, and you're in sleep. And every day this cycle works. Delta, theta, alpha, beta, coming home, beta, alpha, theta, delta, cycling and cycling. Well, this is really a very interesting aspect of brain function for this reason. Theta, the brain activity between 2 and 7 years old for a child, is not just imagination. Theta is hypnosis. And this is how a child can download so much information as a little kid under 7 years of age. When we understand the nature of the progression of our brain vibration, it then becomes important for parents to know this for a very important reason. When does a child start actually downloading behavior? Well, very interesting fact. Even before the child is born. In the last trimester of pregnancy, the brain is already beginning to hit on theta. And when it's doing that, the child is experiencing what the mother has experienced. So a happy mother is sending happy information to the baby as programs. But a mother who is afraid, frightened, not sure of the world she's living in, sends kind of scary messages to that fetus as it's developing. And the child is actually beginning to download these messages. The mother is Head Start program. She's the one that sees the world, and her interpretation of the world is translated into programs into the baby even before it's born. And why should they be able to download so much information? Well, think about it this way. How many rules must a child learn to be a functional member of a family? And then how many more rules must that child learn to be a functional member of the community? Thousands of rules, if you think about it. For example, how a father talks to his own child is different than how the father talks to the neighbor's child, which is different than how the father talks to the mother, which is different than how the father talks to the neighbor's wife, and that's even different than how the father talks to the policeman. You gotta learn a lot of rules to grow up and be a functional member of a family and community. And the idea of, can you teach this to a child, a youngster? They can't read. They're going to go to school? No, they're kids. So the most important insight is that a child between the age of 2 and 7 is observing the community. So it's important for us to all recognize that around children, we really must be behaving at our best and highest level because we are now programming the future of that child. The problem is this: when we grow up, 95% of our life is coming from the programs that we downloaded starting even before we were born through age 7. And these kids, when they grow up, are going to be the world that we're moving into. These kids are our future. So it really is incumbent upon us to recognize this. We should be helping them with the best behavior. We must be on our best behavior because they are copying our behavior between ages 2 and 7 especially. And therefore, if we want the future to be better, then we have to be better people as parents, as community, as family. We have to be the models that we want these kids to be because they're watching us, they're recording us, and they'll become us. It's really interesting to understand the difference in the dichotomy between living in love and living in fear. And it's best illustrated if I put cells in a petri dish and I put nutrients in front of the cells will move to the nutrients. But if I put toxins in front of the cells move away from the toxins. The significance is when you're in a growth situation, which is really what love represents, you're open because growth is open to the world and you assimilate things, and that's where growth comes from. Protection is just the complete opposite. Protection means you're threatened, your life is threatened, and you wall yourself off in protection. So growth is open and protection is closed. Well, the relevance is then you can't be in growth and in protection at the same time. So in our normal history of biology, protection is a necessary part of our survival. You being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you seriously have to do something about this. So what nature has done is created a protection mechanism. In scientific terms, it's referred to as the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, very complicated, abbreviated as HPA. And what this really represents is the hypothalamus, the part of the brain that does an interpretation. It looks at the world and says, am I in a safe place or am I in a scary place? If the hypothalamus sees that we're in threat of any kind, it sends a signal to the pituitary gland, the master gland, whose signals coordinate the activity of 50 trillion cells. Well, in the case of a threat, the pituitary gland releases hormones that activate the adrenal glands. The adrenal system is referred to as fight or flight. So it's basically a protection mechanism. So I say, okay, great, the HPA axis, hypothalamus sees the threat, pituitary coordinates 50 trillion cells, and the adrenal gland prepares for a protection response. Well, if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you're gonna have to use your arms and legs to run away or fight what you need to do. So the system, when under threat, releases stress hormones from the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland allocates all the energy of the system to run away from the saber-toothed tiger. Well, that means the first thing the adrenal gland activity does is cause the blood vessels in the gut to constrict. This forces the blood, which has the energy, to the arms and legs. But then you have to realize this: the moment you shut down the blood vessels of the gut, this is where growth and maintenance and the necessary control and stability of the body is coming from, the organs of the viscera. So when you're in a moment of threat, you shut down the energy going to this gut because you're allocating the energy to run away. That's one of the first things that happens is we shut down growth and maintenance of the body. And people say, well, growth, I'm an adult, I don't need to grow. And I go, we're made out of 50 trillion cells, but every day we lose billions, hundreds of billions of cells, numbers that are just too big to conceive of, actually. normal attrition, aging, damage. And so basically it says every day you're losing hundreds of billions of cells. That means by definition, every day you have to replace hundreds of billions of cells. So while you don't see yourself growing, every day you are growing to match what you're losing. So if you shut down the growth of the system, it won't take very long for the system to become in a state of disrepair. Because if you're not maintaining the replacement of those cells, this will lead to sickness and disease. And number two, remember, when the threat is present, the adrenal hormones are released in stress. They shut down the immune system. And this is an effort to conserve energy to run away from the tiger. What's the result of being in a state of protection? The answer is you shut down the growth and maintenance of the body, and you shut down the immune system. Both of these, if sustained for a period of time, will inevitably lead to disease and death. And just to refer back again to the nature of why evolution gave us this protection response, to run away from the saber-toothed tiger. But once you run away from it, once you've made it away from that tiger, then the system goes back into growth again. So by nature's understanding, you're only supposed to use the stress system for very short intervals of time because it interferes with the normal functions. And then you look at today's world and we realize 24/7, 365 stress hormones are being released into the system. We read the newspapers, we watch the news, we're concerned about the world and its unfolding. So what was supposed to be only used for a very short time has now become chronic. And the chronic release of stress hormones has resulted in an elevation of the amount of disease and sickness that our planet is experiencing right now. So the significance is we must recover. And then to recover, it says, we must get out of the fear that we live in because fear kills. I am the happiest of guys now, but it took me almost, 50 years to really get there. And the fact, let's go back, when I was in the 40s, that was like 1980s. And I was working on stem cells and teaching people what most people still believe, that the genes that we inherit really determine the character of our lives. And that becomes, when you think about it, it's like, well, did you pick the genes you came with? And we go, not that I know of. Can you change the genes if you don't like the characteristics? It's, no. And then we tell you on top of that is, oh, the genes turn on and off by themselves. So you could be walking down the street and the gene goes, oh, time for cancer. It's like, what? And then I said, what were we teaching? What were we teaching to medical people as well as the public? Is that we were victims of heredity, that things were running in our family and then that would determine the character of our lives. And then the fear associated with that is, oh my God, like Angelina Jolie, for example, had a double mastectomy because the fear of breast cancer, of her mother dying from it and her grandmother, of course that put into her mind that she would be a next victim of that. And then she has a double mastectomy to say, I will prevent this from happening, which is, well, that's not really true. But what was the point? It was the fear. And the fear of being a victim, meaning you're powerless. And I go, this is what people believe about their health. I am powerless. We got programmed when we were children to recognize when it comes to health, we don't take care of that. We go to the specialist, the doctor. I said, what is that learning period in our first 7 years? What does that do? It programs us. I said, yeah, but what's the program? And the program is, I'm not in charge of my health. That when it comes to health issues, I have to go see another person, and then their truth becomes my truth, because who am I? And I said, so what's the consequence? I said, first thing, you just gave up power over your health. You say, I won't take care of my health. I'm going to let that professional, that's my program. And I go, well, there's a problem. And the problem is, as I was learning and then attributing my life to programs that I didn't know I had, because that was before I knew about the 7 years of programming, I looked at my life and it was like, okay, I was really good professionally. That's how I got to be the cell biologist, and the joy of working in that field of science. And that was really great. But the rest of my life was a shambles. It's like I couldn't get a relationship off the ground no matter what I tried. It was like, oh my God, I am doomed here. Why? Because I must have got the parenting genes and the from my father and my mother, and I'm not really good at it. And so I was working as life is just a mechanism. You do your thing, and then it's dust to dust. I had no spiritual foundation at all because it was genes and proteins and chromosomes. That's and my dear Sadhviji knows exactly what I'm talking about because she comes from a very serious science background, and that's why when we started collaborating and talking together, it was like, oh wow, we have this basic understanding of it, and the basic fact was this: okay, I'm a machine. That's what we were teaching. Go to the doctor. That's the repair person. Fix a machine. And what I learned through my research was that genes don't control life, and genes don't control themselves. And it's like, oh my God, I spent a whole career teaching this to medical doctors that the genes control your life, and the fear that that's pervasive out there is that I'm not in charge, and I'm working with what are called stem cells, and this is 50 years ago. And my research with stem cells revealed that genetically identical cells in different environments have different fate. And what does that mean? It says, well, they all have the same genes, but the fate wasn't based on the genes. The fate was based on the environment. And all of a sudden, my research started to go off and say, wait, genes don't turn on and off. That's a complete false statement. Genes are blueprints. And I go, relevant, go into an architect's office where she's working on a blueprint and lean over this architect's shoulder and ask her, hey, is your blueprint on or off? And she would look at me and she's like, well, it's a blueprint. There's no on and off. And I go, precisely. A gene is a blueprint to make a protein. It doesn't know on and off. It has no control by itself. It's not self-emergent, meaning it doesn't control us. It turns out that our perceptions and the environment we live in and our perceptions of the environment control our genetics. And I go, so why is that relevant? I say, I can change my perceptions. And all of a sudden it says, I'm not a victim of anything more than the programming that I got in that first 7 years. And it was interesting because the real part that changed everything for me, Sadhviji, which you had run into before I did, was, as I said, I wasn't spiritual, but as I started to look at how the environment was controlling the cells, I started to recognize no two people are biologically identical. And I said, what does that mean? I can't exchange cells with you. You can't exchange cells or organs with me because if I put my cells in your body, your immune system will say not self. And if you put your cells into somebody else's body, their immune system will say not self. I said, so what's the point? There's a self built into your cells that is different than the self built into your neighbor's cells. And I go, so why is that relevant? I said, well, what is the self? And that's what I started to look at. And it was like, oh, on the surface of our cells are these protein antennas, just like TV antennas. No two people have the same set of these protein receptors. Their name for them is interesting. Self receptors, receivers of self. And I go, when I started looking, I said, but these receptors are on the outside of the cell. And I said, so why was that relevant? I said, well, if they're getting a signal of self, the self isn't in the cell, the self is sent to the cell. And then all of a sudden I go, wait, then the self is not in here. And then I started getting a little quantum physics, started to realize we are energy units playing through what we appear to be a physical body. And that our identity is picked up by these receptors. And if I take the receptors off your cells, then your cells have no identity. I can put them into any human because it's not Sadhviji's cells, not Bruce's cells. And I go, so wait, so I'm still getting there, folks. There's a point coming here. And I started to recognize, well, wait a second. Bruce is a set of antennas. Well, we focus on the antennas in medicine. I go, no, you fail to understand. Antennas receive a signal. And all of a sudden I started to realize my identity is something signal in the environment that is being picked up by my cells. And so Bruce, the guy who's like thinking, going all the time, going, wait a minute, I'm a broadcast. Bruce is a broadcast. My body is a receiver. And I make a joke like, I'm a television set, Sadhviji, and you're watching the Bruce show right now. And the point about it is, well, the television can break. And then we say, television's dead. And I go, yeah, that happens. And I say, is the broadcast still there? I say, you're watching a show. You say the television's dead. And I say, then what? I say, get another TV, plug it in, turn it on, and tune it to the station, and you're back on again. And all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, and this is it. I can't die. I'm not in here. I'm the broadcast. And then it's all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I can't die because I'm the TV, this physical thing. And what does it mean? It says, well, down the road, a baby is born with what? Oh, the same antennas. I'm back on, I got a new TV set. I said, does it make a difference, male or female? Nope, that's the TV set. Does it make a difference if it's a black, brown, red, yellow, white TV? I said, no, that's a TV set. We are the broadcasts. And all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, all of us come from this energy, and this energy is a field, and each of us is a receiving station of our own little broadcast out of the field. But collectively, we're the radio band. We got all the stations on here. We're all in the same radio band, but each of us comes in here.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Joe Dispenza, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
It's so important for people to remember that they're the creators of their lives instead of the victim of their lives. The victim is saying, I'm feeling this way because that person or that circumstance, or I don't have any money, is causing me to feel this way.